Your news team matters.
The governor's budget repair law is tied up in court, and as the legal battle drags on, more and more local schools are asking themselves a controversial question.
Yeah, pass a new union contract now or wait for the new law. Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson shows you what's at stake for teachers and taxpayers.
Brad Nan, in cash-strapped communities all across the state, teachers' unions are offering up financial concessions once thought unimaginable. But should your local school board take the deal? It's a question that's pitting neighbor against neighbor. When it comes to funding public education, the tone of our discourse has undoubtedly changed.
I'm thinking that there's 40 to 50 teachers that do not want to pay union dues on a regular basis.
Lies.
Sometimes it's hard to hold a conversation.
I'd be glad to talk to you. In fact, I'd like to talk to you after. Can I finish this interview?
Without emotions running high.
That was polite and neighborly.
That is so true.
The catalyst, of course, is Governor Walker's effort to wipe out most collective bargaining rights for public workers, which set off historic protests at the Capitol and prompted the Racine School District to rush through a new union contract.
We were intentionally trying to get a better deal than the governor put forward. And if you want to do that, you better get out in front of it.
Racine Superintendent James Shaw says they got a great deal for taxpayers by working with teachers.
We got $18 million in concessions from our employees. And if you do that to people, it can make a more difficult working atmosphere.
But the deal leaves them $7 million short of balancing the budget, which means staff cuts are still likely.
I understand money's important, but can you save money by negotiating concessions and still keep a focus on really quality schools?
We have had a long history of working together.
Sheboygan schools also rushed to lock in a new 2-year union deal with all the basic concessions covered by the governor's bill.
The budget repair bill asked for 5.8% in Wisconsin retirement payment. We got that. The budget repair bill asked for an increase in insurance payments or coverage. We got that 12%.
The main thing we've said all along to districts is you need to be cautious when you go through this.
Bob Butler is an attorney for the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, which represents more than 400 public school districts in Wisconsin. He estimates that 150 of their members have approved new teacher contracts the past couple of months. And the longer the uncertainty in Madison drags on, the more schools are likely to act. His advice?
You need to be thorough. You need to make sure, even though you get a lot of pressure to do a quick deal, make sure that you've looked and reviewed everything, so that you don't have buyer's remorse.
And that pressure is mounting.
And I want you to ratify this contract.
Even in some of the most politically conservative communities in the state.
And all I'm asking the board to do is wait.
Last fall, Scott Walker won 69% of the vote in Ozaukee County, but the Port Washington Saukville School Board isn't waiting on his bill.
I also believe that there's too many emotional relationships with the school board and the administration tied to the union.
And you bet we have relationships with every single one of our employees, hopefully.
And I understand that.
Earlier this month, in front of a deeply divided standing room only crowd, the board voted to give teachers a 1-year extension.
Sarah?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Complete with the now standard concessions on health insurance, pension, and salaries.
It gives us a head start. What's going on in Madison could be caught up in litigation, and it could take additional 4 or 5 months.
The controversial deal drew a ream of angry emails to the board, but Superintendent Michael Weber says it allows them to avoid layoffs and program cuts while buying them time to plan for life after collective bargaining.
I think what's important to our teachers is a sense of stability, and a one year extension gives them that sense of stability.
We're not, hooking elbows and dancing some jig together.
Deb Dassow says the cuts are deeper than any she's agreed to in more than 30 years as Port's union negotiator.
What's interesting to me is if a year ago, Brian, we would have put an offer on the table to the board that said, here's $1.5 million. They would have been dancing in the streets. But because of the political tenor right now, nothing we give is good enough for some people.
Critics of these hurry-up deals say that, among other things, districts are giving up the flexibility to negotiate better health insurance rates and trim millions of dollars in runaway retirement benefits.
That there are plenty of people in this community who are hardworking people who have very important jobs and are not allowed to retire at the age of even 57 and get full benefits.
Weber says they couldn't afford to wait.
If we go past June 30th, we're into another bargaining cycle, which may be considerably more challenging than what we have right now.
No, I think it's just the opposite.
A few miles up the road, the Cedar Grove Belgium schools say they couldn't afford not to wait.
And our board does not want to be handicapped by anything.
When teachers approached the district with give back, Superintendent Steve Shaw told them thanks, but no thanks.
Their concessions are generous. There's no two ways about that.
But you still didn't feel like that was good enough to say, let's do this now?
No, the board and I didn't. No, not at this time. It's just, there's other things that, if you lock into something here, how's that going to affect you next year? We don't know. And the conservative approach was to just stay status quo.
And so far, Cedar Grove is still in the majority. Whether or not your local school district passes a new union contract, teachers there are likely to end up paying half of their retirement, roughly 12 or 13% of their health insurance, and undergoing a salary freeze. So why are teachers' unions across the state seemingly so eager to ink new deals that give the governor exactly what he wants?
We're trying to save our ability to have a collective voice.
Dassow says they're fighting to preserve the union, while Port Washington taxpayer Kurt Stammer suggests a more cynical motive, preservation of union dues.
All we asked is give those teachers the opportunity to stop paying the union dues on this next contract.
Under current law, all teachers are required to pay their fair share of union dues through an automatic payroll deduction. Under the governor's budget repair law, payroll deductions would end and dues would be voluntary.
You have to go to each member. You're not, you're going to have to collect dues yourself versus, through payroll. And it's a quite tedious process.
Thanks to the contract extension, Port Washington teachers will continue to pay their dues for at least another year. In return, Dassow says they'll get another year of representation on issues like sick pay, class size, planning time, and more. Meanwhile, the question remains.
Why not wait?
Did taxpayers get the best deal? So is more money saved by getting a contract done now or by waiting? There's really no simple answer. Administrators I talked to in several districts on both sides of this tell me that even if they allow union contracts to expire, there's really only so much you can take from staff at any one time without driving them away. In fact, the Cedar Grove superintendent told me that he and his colleagues think we may be on the verge of a sort of free agency for teachers where districts will have to compete for the best and brightest. And of course, one way you compete is by offering an attractive salary and benefits. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. And of course, we're going to be watching here at Fox 6 News.
You went to a lot of different school districts to the story, north and south, and I noticed, school board members or superintendents in each district talked to us, but I think I saw only one union representative speaking in this story.
It wasn't for a lack of trying. We reached out to union representatives in a number of districts. In Sheboygan, they flat out declined my request for an interview. In Racine, I simply didn't get a return call from the Racine Education Association. Neither did WEAC call me back, the state teachers union. Even Deb Dassow in Port Washington, who did talk, was hesitant at first for fear that we would, quote, sabotage her, as she wrote me in an email. No question, these are very sensitive issues, so maybe not too eager to talk about it on camera.
Yeah, but that's how you get your story out, is to talk to us about it. All right, very good. Interesting story, Brian. Thanks for looking into that.